On this gate is the character Duan Men. The Chinese character Duan also conveys righteousness, which is consistent with the message of safeguarding international justice.
The leaders are now walking together towards the Tiananmen rostrum. It's a short walk from the Duanmen Gate we've been telling you about, which stands just north of the Tiananmen rostrum, to the rostrum itself.
And Joshi, you know, for many foreign leaders who have visited China before, the Tiananmen rostrum, or the Forbidden City, is a familiar sight. Many of them have been here before to the Forbidden City. However, this gathering here today holds a special significance.
Absolutely. The Tiananmen rostrum sits right in the heart of the Chinese capital, with viewing platforms that can overlook the Tiananmen Square. The leaders will be walking towards the rostrum. They will ascend to the viewing platform on the rostrum and view the military parade together.
Now, as they walk on the red carpet to make their way to the top of the Tiananmen rostrum, a little bit of background information about the structure. It was built as a ceremonial gate to the imperial city in the Ming Dynasty. It's witnessed the ties of Chinese history in the past 6 centuries.
And in 1937, Tiananmen Square witnessed the fall of Peking. In October 1945, Japanese invaders in North China officially surrendered at the square of the Hall of Supreme Harmony in the Forbidden City.
Today's commemoration is certainly a big national event, a military event as well, as troops and armaments are standing by ready for the inspection. It is also a significant diplomatic event, as heads of state, leaders of international organizations are convening here to review the commemoration and the parade.
The leaders are making full use of this time as they walk together to the Tiananmen rostrum, engaging in friendly chit-chat and conversations.
And today, the Tiananmen rostrum, steeped in the depths of history, will again witness new glory. It is a pretty long walk to ascend to the top of the Tiananmen rostrum.
"80 decades ago, World War II ended with over 100 million casualties among soldiers and civilians worldwide. Chinese casualties were more than 35 million. And today is about commemorating the victory in that war, in the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression, as well as the World Anti-Fascist War. And now the leaders are arriving at that expansive viewing platform up on the Tiananmen rostrum.
And we understand that some of the veterans of the War of Resistance were given their own viewing spots on top of the Tiananmen rostrum. Crowds are welcoming China's top leader, as well as international dignitaries. We are seeing veterans sitting there, and President Xi Jinping and international dignitaries are shaking hands with a 99-year-old veteran, 100-year-old veteran from the 8th Route Army, 94-year-old veteran from the 8th Route Army, 102-year-old veteran from the new 8th Route Army, and from South China Guerrilla Force, 100-year-old veteran from the Kuomintang. And during the fight against the Japanese aggression, the Chinese people established a national united front to safeguard their homeland.
Obviously, the Chinese president was very pleased to see the veterans present up on the Tiananmen rostrum. He even introduced the veterans to his guests there, shaking hands with the veterans, greeting them, welcoming them to this very important commemoration.
And the veterans represent the legacies of this long-fought war. And their spirit of resilience, of peace, of perseverance still echo on every inch of China's soil now.
It's certainly a very heartwarming scene there to have the veterans seated up on the Tiananmen rostrum. They are the real heroes and role models, and they motivate us to keep pushing forward. The victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression is a glory shared by the Chinese nation and also people worldwide who stand for justice. Professor Gao, Mr. Zhou, let's bring you in for this part. Obviously, the veterans are seated, out there on the Tiananmen rostrum so that they have an opportunity to participate in the commemoration today. What do you make of that arrangement, Professor Gao?
Well, I think this is really the right thing to do because they fought against the Japanese aggressors. They shed their blood, and they have always been honored by the People's Republic, by the Chinese people, and now they are in the center of this reviewing process of the parade to commemorate the 80th year anniversary of the victory against Japanese aggression. And I think we all hail them as the real heroes, defending China's sovereignty and territorial integrity and fighting off the Japanese aggressors.
Real heroes and real witnesses, not only to the atrocities of the war, but more importantly to the final victory. And we're so happy that they get to see the commemoration today. Mr. Zhou, your thoughts?
Well, I think I can't agree more with Victor Gao about the importance of having these veterans standing on Tiananmen Square. I think it's rare, It won't be easy for us to see these people right now because they're all very old people, but they're still alive, but they can still see how strong China is today, in which they have made their due and a great contribution. So I think that is indeed a great honor for them to be there and for us to see them there.
Now, many of these veterans fought under extremely harsh conditions: poverty, famine, the lack of military resources. What does their perseverance teach us about the spirits of, resilience and courage? And, besides honoring them in events like this, what more could we do, Professor Gao, to really weave their legacies more into everyday life?
I think these veterans 80 years ago, or more than 80 years ago, fought against Japanese aggressors not only as soldiers, but they were true representatives of the Chinese nation, true representative of the Chinese culture and the Chinese civilization. In their bodies, I can see the most splendid and the glorious part of the Chinese civilization. So they became the epitome of the Chinese nation. They became the epitome of the Chinese civilization. And by shedding blood for their own motherland, by fighting off foreign aggressors, they set an example for the future generation. So now we honor them as our national hero, and the younger generation draw inspiration from these veterans and learn lessons from them, and we become redoubled in our commitment to defending peace and defending China and defending the Chinese culture and ultimately the Chinese civilization.
Obviously, we're commemorating this day. We're inviting veterans up on the Tiananmen rostrum to carry on this spirit of the war of resistance against the Japanese aggression. Mr. Zhou, how do we do that? How do we make sure that the spirit of perseverance, the spirit of never surrender, the spirit of defending your motherland lives on in today's world?
Well, these people are actually old soldiers, right? And old soldiers never die. So what they have left us are actually a litany of fine traditions. But if you look at the PLA today, you would find it so interesting to see that how small they were at that time and how ill-equipped they were at that time. But on the contrary, today, China is almost the opposite, right? China is having the largest armed force in the world, and in a moment we're going to see all the modern weaponry and combat platforms. But still, this kind of fine traditions are basically in the heart and in the blood of our modern-day soldiers, because that really, really matter, for us if you are going to another war. So you have to think of where you come from, right? And what kind of traditions are already placed in you. So these people basically are the very sources of a fine tradition.
How can remembering their sacrifices and contributions inspire values that are still relevant today? Professor Gao.
Well, I think they are the true Chinese nationals and our heroes. But allow me to mention, behind these veterans, I also see those who fell on the battleground, who really sacrificed their lives for the Chinese nation. So I think we not only see these veterans who are the true representative of those heroes fighting against Japanese aggressors, but they are also representatives of all the millions of the Chinese soldiers who shed their blood, who sacrificed their life, and they too become the national heroes for the current generation of the Chinese nation and the future generations. And I think by honoring them, we honor ourselves, we honor our national history and our Chinese civilization, and we honor peace. That is the most important thing.
You know, we talked about international solidarity towards ending the Second World War, and the international solidarity is also present today with the turnout of those international dignitaries that have arrived in Beijing. You're looking at live pictures of the Tiananmen Square that's fully decorated for the commemoration today. There are the year-marking installations that show the years 1945 and 2025. Today is September 3rd. In the capital, Beijing, the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression in the World Anti-Fascist War will begin soon.
CGTN is broadcasting the commemoration live to global audiences. We're now watching live pictures from the Tiananmen Square. The commemoration is going to begin in just a moment.
State and party leaders Xi Jinping, Li Qiang, 赵乐际、王沪宁、蔡奇、丁薛祥、李希 and Han Zheng have come to the Tiananmen rostrum. Dozens of foreign politicians and dignitaries attend the ceremony at the invitation.
Also present on the Tiananmen rostrum are senior officials of the CPC Central Committee, the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, the State Council, the Supreme People's Court, the Supreme People's Procuratorate, the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, and the Central Military Commission. Retired leaders of the party and the state, some veteran soldiers who participated in the War of Resistance, representatives of Kuomintang veteran soldiers who had fought the Japanese aggression, family members of the Kuomintang high-ranking officers who had died in the War of Resistance, representatives of those who received awards for their service, and representatives of Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan compatriots, as well as overseas Chinese, are also present on the Tiananmen rostrum. And we could see the obelisk, the monument to the people's heroes.
The commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War now begins. Please all rise and stand at attention. Fire the gun salute.
An 80-gun salute is fired to mark the 80 years since the victory of the War of Resistance. The thunder of guns resembles roars of soldiers on the battleground. It is also like a song of triumph, transcending the time and space to tell our fallen heroes. China today is a great country with majestic mountains and rivers, and its people are full of pride and ambition.
Great changes have taken place over the 80 years from 1945 to 2025. Today, China is safeguarding world peace and contributing to the progress of human civilization with fearless strength and determination. The Great Wall symbolizes the unyielding spirit of the Chinese nation. This great nation never bows to any enemy or any force. Those who dare to invade us are doomed to crash into the Iron Great Wall with bloodshed.
Chinese people's deep love towards the motherland can be seen from the steadfast gaze of the honor guards. When their patriotism erupts like a volcano, there will be no insurmountable hurdles or unachievable feats for them. The wheel of history never stops. Under the strong leadership of the Communist Party of China, the Chinese nation, with a firm grip on its own destiny, is marching forward staunchly and proudly.
From the monument of the people's heroes to the national flagpole, and from the great victory to the great rejuvenation, the Chinese nation has walked a long way of innumerable difficulties and hardships.
This is a road to national independence and people's liberation. It is also a road to national dignity, prosperity, and strength, and a road to Chinese modernization and a global community with a shared future.
The national anthem, March of the Volunteers, which was born during wartime, will soon be played. It was written in 1935 in the early years of the war against Japanese aggression.
Raise the national flag and sing the national anthem. Please be seated. I invite General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee, President of the People's Republic of China, and Chairman of the Central Military Commission, Comrade Xi Jinping, to deliver an important speech. All my fellow Chinese across the nation, Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, and representatives of international organizations, distinguished guests, all officers and soldiers participating in the parade, comrades and friends. Today, we gather here to solemnly commemorate the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against the Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. It is an occasion for us to remember history, honor fallen heroes, cherish peace, and create a better future. On behalf of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, the National People's Congress, the State Council, the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, and the Central Military Commission, I would like to pay high tribute to our veteran soldiers and comrades, patriots, and officers who fought in a war of resistance against Japanese aggression, and to the Chinese nationals from home and abroad who made important contributions to our victory. I would also like to express my sincere thanks to foreign governments
和国
and
际友
friends
人
that supported and assisted the Chinese people in resisting aggression.
向参加今天大会的
I
各国
also
来
extend
宾
a warm welcome
表
to
示
our guests
热烈
from
欢
around the
迎
world who are with us today.
同志们、朋友们，
Comrades and friends,
中国人民抗日战争
the Chinese people's war of resistance against the Japanese aggression was the Great War fought with tenacity
在
and
中国
valor.
共产党倡导建立的
Under the banner of
抗
the
日民族统一
National
战线
United
体制
Front
下
against Japanese aggression, established at the initiative of the Communist Party of China, the Chinese people stood up to fight the formidable enemy within iron will
取得
and formed a
近
great
代以
war
来
with flesh and blood to defend the nation and ultimately achieved the first complete victory in resisting foreign aggression in modern times.
中国人民抗日战争
The Chinese people's war of resistance against the Japanese aggression was
重
an
要
important part of the world anti-fascist war.
中国人民以巨大的
With huge
民族
national
牺牲
sacrifice, the Chinese people
为拯救
made
人类
major
文明
contributions
保
to
卫
saving
世界
human
和平
civilization and
做出
safeguarding
了
world
重大
peace.
贡献。历史警示我们，
History cautions us
人类命运休
that
戚与共。
humanity rises and falls together
各个国家、各个民族
only
只有平等
when
相
all
待
countries and nations
和睦相处
treat each other
守
as
望
equals,
相助，
coexist in
才
peace
能维
and
护
support
共
each
同
other,
安全，
can we uphold common
消灭
security,
战争根源，
eradicate the root cause of
不
war,
让历史悲
and
剧
prevent
重演。
the reoccurrence of historical tragedies.
同志们、朋友们，
Comrades and friends,
中华民族是不畏强暴
the，Chinese nation is the
自立
great
自
nation
强
that
的
is
伟大
never
民族。
intimidated by any bullies
当年
and always values
面对
independence
正
and
义与
forges
邪
ahead.
恶，光明
In the
与
past,
黑
when
暗，
faced with critical struggles
进
between
步与
good and
反动
evil,
的
light and
生死
darkness,
较量，
progress and reaction, the Chinese
中
people
国人民同仇敌
rallied
忾，
together to defy
奋起
the
反
enemy.
抗，为国家生存而战，
They fought for the
为
survival
民
of the
族复
country,
兴而战，
for the rejuvenation of the
为
Chinese
人类正
nation,
义而
and
战。
for justice of the whole humanity.
今天，人类又面临
Today,
和平还是战争
humanity again has to choose
对话
between
还
peace
是对
and
抗
war, dialogue
共
and
赢才是
confrontation,
零和的抉择。
win-win cooperation and zero-sum game.
中国人民坚定站在历史正
The
确
Chinese
一边
people firmly stand
站
on
在
the
人
right
类
side
文
of
明
history
进步
and the
一边
progress of human civilization.
坚持走和平发展道
We
路，
will remain committed to the path
与
of
各国
peaceful
人民
development
携手
and
构
join
建
hands with all
人类
peoples
命
around the
运
world
共同体。
in building a community with a shared future for humanity.
中国人民解放军
The Chinese People's Liberation
始终是
Army has been
党和人
and
民
will always be
完全可以
the
信赖
heroic
的
armed
英
forces
雄
that the
部队。
party and the people can fully trust
全军
and
将
rely
士
on.
要忠实履行神圣
All
职
service
责，
members should
加快
faithfully
建设
perform their
世界
sacred
一
duties,
流军队，
speed up the building of a
坚决
world-class
维护
military,
国家主权
and firmly safeguard
统一
China's sovereignty,
领土
unity, and territorial integrity.
为实现中华民族伟大
All
复兴
service members should
提
provide
供战略
strategic
支撑
support for the great rejuvenation of the
为世界
Chinese
和
nation
平与发
and make
展
greater
做
contributions
出
to the
更大
peace
贡
and
献。
development of the world.
历史承载过去，
History carries the
也启迪
legacy
未来。
of the past and inspires the future.
新时代新征程，
On a new journey in a
全
new
国各族
era,
人民
the Chinese people
要在中
of
国共
all
产
ethnic
党坚
groups
强领导
should,
下，
under the strong leadership of the Communist Party of
坚
China,
持马克思列宁
follow
主义
Marxism, Leninism,
毛泽东
Mao
思想
Zedong thought,
邓小平
Deng
理论
Xiaoping theory, The theory of three represents, and the scientific outlook on development, and fully implement the thoughts on socialism with Chinese characteristics for the new era. We should stay firmly on the path of socialism with Chinese characteristics and carry forward the great spirit of the war of resistance. We should press ahead with enterprise and resolve, and advance in unity the cause of building China into a great country on all fronts and realizing great national rejuvenation through China's modernization. The great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation is irresistible. The noble cause of peace and development of humanity will prevail. The military parade now begins. Markers in position.
The parade guards mark positions and boundaries at the parade ground. 60 soldiers will line up in front of the eastern and western ornament columns on the Tiananmen Square.
Marching with steadfast footsteps and imposing bearing, the ironclad troops showcase their unshakable faith, strong conviction, strict discipline, and firm commitment to their duties.
Standing firm on the ground of the motherland and bearing the hope of the Chinese nation, the heroic People's Liberation Army has forged ahead dauntlessly throughout wars, achieving great historic feats for the party and the people.
At this solemn moment today, the People's Armed Forces are ready for the inspection of General Secretary of the Communist Party of China's Central Committee, Chinese President, and Chairman of the Central Military Commission, Xi Jinping. They are also ready to be reviewed by the party and the people.
Comrade Chairman, the troops for review are fully prepared. Please proceed with the inspection. Chief Commander of the Parade, Han Zhengxuan. Let's begin.
Next, President Xi will pay an eye salute to the party national and military flags.
In a typical back and forth, President Xi says, "Salute to you, comrades." And the soldiers reply, "Hail to Chairman." The president then says, "Comrades, thank you for your hard work." To which the soldiers reply, "We serve the people."
As you could hear right there, the phrase "serve the people" was written into the party constitution at the 7th National Congress of the Communist Party of China in 1945. Serving the people wholeheartedly was established as the fundamental principle of the party and the People's Liberation Army.
As President Xi's car rides past each segment of the troops, he greets the soldiers. The troops respond vociferously, paying respect and demonstrating their loyalty. These phrases are used in inspections, parades, and other military gatherings.
The PLA views itself not only as the defender of national sovereignty, but as an integral part of society with a direct responsibility to safeguard people's well-being. In peacetime, the Chinese military participates in missions that serve the people's interests, such as disaster relief. And all this has earned them the title, the most beloved people in China.
Now President Xi is heading back to the Tiananmen rostrum. When President Xi's car rides past the troops, the soldiers shout, "Follow the party's command, fight to win, forge exemplary conduct. Justice will prevail, peace will prevail, the people will prevail."
the party's command sets the military's political orientation. Fighting to win is the basic function of the military and the fundamental objective of its development. Forging exemplary conduct demonstrates the Army's nature and principle.
Justice will prevail. Peace will prevail. The people will prevail. These three phrases were the closing lines in President Xi's speech 10 years ago, when the country marked the 70th anniversary of the victory of Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War.
All markers fall out. Release the peace staffs.
Now we can see 80,000 doves flying into the sky. Let's honor our heroes, uphold justice, and safeguard peace. This land and people will forever remember the fallen heroes whose spirits are immortal.
The commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against the Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War has now concluded.
Years later, while the historical trends of peace, development, cooperation, mutual benefit remain unchanged, the Cold War mentality, hegemonism, and protectionism continue to haunt the world. Peace deficit, development deficit, security deficit, governance deficit. Again, humankind has come to a crossroads of peace or war, dialogue or confrontation, win-win cooperation, or zero-sum games.
History reminds us that the destinies of all mankind are intertwined. All countries, nations can only maintain common security, eliminate wars when they treat each other equally and harmoniously, watch out for each other to prevent repetition of historical tragedies.
The Chinese people firmly stand on the right side of history, on the side of human progress, stick to peaceful development, and join hands with people from all countries to build a community of shared future for humanity.
The trend of Chinese national rejuvenation cannot be stopped. The noble cause of peaceful development of humanity will prevail. Well, what an impressive commemoration we have just watched there.
Absolutely.
Chinese President Xi Jinping made a keynote speech, and there was a grand military